selling a dead baby's pictures. And I made a Facebook post about us eating lunch for her birthday. And there were several comments, but the one that stood out the most was that how Patreon works. I had my Patreon, I started it in April of 2022. And there are several levels that you can join under. From $1 up until $100. I decided to do Gannon's crime scene photographs on Patreon because, one, I knew that mainstream, that YouTube and Facebook would not allow those types of photographs to be shown. And I know that because I've had videos taken down for showing autopsy reports and pictures during the Dyatlov case. So to have as much control over what was put out as I could, I decided to do it on Patreon for those who were members and for those who wanted to become members in order to participate in the discussion that we were going to have about the crime scene photos and the autopsy photos. Anyone who watched those lives, and they're both still up, I have them saved, knows that nothing that was in any way, shape, or form disrespectful was said or done in those lives. Nothing. I didn't even show all of the pictures. I showed the same exact pictures that were shown during the trial that were hard to see. And some people keep asking, well, why would you do it? Why did you do this? The case is over. The case is never over. You do realize that, correct? Just because Letitia's in prison and she was convicted means absolutely nothing. She can still appeal. Hey, Lorianne, I miss you too. Thank you. She can still appeal. And Gannon still lost his life. And that is something that needs to never be forgotten, especially the horrific way in which he... Just because a case has been tried, it means nothing in the true crime world. People are still discussing Jack the Ripper. People are still discussing the Watts case, but Chris Watts is in prison. There are so many cases that are so much older than this one that are still being discussed, and it will be. So just because Letitia has been convicted, we're supposed to not talk about the case. We're supposed to forget it. This case that affected so many people emotionally. Anybody that says that, you don't truly follow true crime. What about Ted Bundy? Manson? Ed Gein? What about Jeffrey Dahmer? Well, some would say that their cases are over too, right? They're all dead. So their cases are done. Everybody should stop talking about it because they're done. Because the murderers are deceased. Everybody should just stop talking about it. What about Jodi Arias? She's in prison. People still do that. Movies and television shows are still made about these cases. But everyone says, why talk about this case? This case. And what it boils down to is that those of you who are up in arms about this have situational outrage. It has absolutely nothing to do with your disgust about this being a child. You just want something to bitch and complain about. And if it wasn't this, it would be something else. Some people just have to have something to criticize, ostracize, and bitch and complain about. This just happens to be the flavor of the week. You're not all really angry about Gannon. You didn't even know Gannon. You don't know his family. I chose to show those photographs in a private setting behind a paywall because they show the absolute horrific nature of Letitia Stauch and what that child went through. Because until you see those photographs, I don't care if you have followed that case from the beginning and you watched every day of that trial. Until you see those photographs, you have no idea the torture that woman put that little boy through. Where was your outrage when every channel was publicizing and showing those same crime scene photos live during the trial? Where was your outrage then? Because these same people who are now trying to crucify me showed the same pictures. They didn't blur them out. They didn't crop them from the waist down like I did. I did not show one photograph that was from the waist down. By all means, y'all please drop the Patreon link. I made sure that I showed nothing that could be considered disrespectful. The only thing I showed were the wounds. And that is the only thing we discussed. The wounds, the suitcase, the bedding, and the clothing. Because those things tell a story that was not told in that courtroom. And the woman that committed this crime should have to suffer those same injuries every day of her life. So you can say, oh, you shouldn't have done that. You shouldn't have shown those. That's just a little boy. That's just a baby. That's this. That's that. Well, let me show you a little something. So Mommy Ramblings, the ringleader of this shit show to crucify me, and the one who started out doing it, who has put so many lies out there about it, and who's so outraged that anybody would ever show these pictures. This is her live stream from April 10th of 2023. Letitia Stauch trial live stream day 5. It's on our website. It's on our website right now. Do you see what is on the screen? That is one of the crime scene photos. And that is one of the worst crime scene photos because you can actually see Gannon's head, face, and everything else that is decomposed with zero blurring. This is on Merb's channel and it is monetized. She has been collecting money on this video since April 10th. But she wants to go live and call me a tragedy pimp that's using an 11-year-old to make money. For 30 minutes. From 27 minutes, 45 seconds until 52 minutes. Slideshow, slide after slide after slide are the same photos that I showed. I did not show one thing on Patreon that I did not show or that was not shown during the trial. So you tell me how this is any different. This has been a monetized video since April 10th. For 3 months, exactly today, she's been collecting money from this video. Okay, Mama 4. Where's the outrage? Where is the outrage? Where's the outrage about all of the other channels who also streamed this, of child autopsy reports to the public? Harley girl, if my granddaughter passed away as a victim of a horrific murder, I would hope and pray that everybody possible would cover her case the same way that I did Gannons in order to bring justice to the case, create awareness, and make sure that her death wasn't forgotten. The bill referred to as the child autopsy bill would have prevented public disclosure of the reports, with a few exceptions. In his veto letter, Hickenlooper wrote that history shows bringing tragedies to light often helps lead to policy changes. Transparency can lead to enhanced government protections, greater public and private resources, and heightened public understanding and demand for change. The bill was requested by the County Coroners Association and was sponsored by 2 senators. Supporters of the bill argued that it protected grieving families and helped prevent copycat suicides and homicides. However, Hickenlooper, in his letter, cited examples in which public disclosure, media scrutiny, and journalism led to positive changes, particularly in areas such as child neglect, abuse, and trafficking. While crafted for the very laudable goal of protecting families from additional pain caused by public knowledge of a child's death, we cannot ignore that SB 18 hampers public disclosure. And we are particularly concerned by the bill's broad language limiting disclosure of not only youth suicides, but any death of a minor. Few circumstances can ever match the trauma of losing a child. We commend the sponsors of this bill for their desire to protect families of deceased children from continued pain. For these reasons, we do not issue this veto lightly. We remain persuaded, however, that sunshine on uncomfortable and painful topics such as youth deaths can lead to more positive outcomes for other youths, stemming from how we collectively react to the knowledge of youth deaths. An informed public has societal benefits for all at-risk children, present and future. So basically, what everyone is saying is that crimes that involve children should just be swept under the rug, hidden, because it's uncomfortable to talk about, think about, and look at. So they just want us to forget that it happened because some people's delicate sensibilities can't handle it. Well, tough shit. Tough shit. Because I guarantee you that the victims of these crimes, you know, the ones who no longer have a voice, would disagree. And I want to say this. I am tired of being lumped together with Zav Girl. I am not her. I did not do what she did. I can only attest to, speak on, and inform everyone of what I did. And what I did was respectful in every way possible. No one in my chat made any rude or derogatory comments about that child, nor would they have been allowed to. I certainly never did. And no one showed any genitalia on my channel. Every photograph that I showed was cropped. Now, whether Zab Girl did that or not is on her, not me. I don't have to answer for her. She doesn't have to answer for me. And I will tell you right now that when I have to stand before God on Judgment Day, I am 1,000% fine with what I did and how I did it. And that's what matters. I sleep fine at night. I have done nothing wrong. And those who are trying to crucify me or who are clutching their pearls, saying that I've sold pictures of a dead baby, you are the ones who have a problem. You are the ones who are the problem. You're the same snowflakes who bitch and complain about everything. Hey, Brenda. Exactly. YouTube Crime Stopper. The message that all of these creators, Murder especially, is reading from Gannon's mother was from April. And do you not think that these people who are going live every day and hopping on every panel they can to discuss this, do you not think that they are milking this situation for every cent they can get? Are their videos monetized when they're talking about it? Yep. So who exactly is taking advantage of this situation? Is it myself, who put it on Patreon and who to date has gained around 50 Patreons, most of whom quit, canceled right after they joined just because they wanted access? So at most, I've made $150. Yes, I am, Teresa. So who is really the tragedy pimp? Who is pimping out this tragedy? Is it me? Who has done two respectful lives about a difficult subject? Or is it, thank you, Amber, I appreciate that. Or is it those who are live every night, day, with their feigned outrage, situational morals, and lack of integrity, who are banking super chats and ad revenue by speaking on it every chance they get? Always YouTube Crime Stopper. I don't know any other way to be. Who do you think's made more money? And interestingly enough, some of those channels, like Mommy Rambling's blog, who barely can get 100 people to watch her on any given day, had 250 people last night when she was discussing this very thing. And now she thinks that this is what's going to crucify me. No, boo-boo. No. No one is going to crucify me. And you're still not going to get me to go anywhere that I don't want to go. But I tell you one thing, I will be doing a deep dive into the school where MRB's husband was an unaccredited, unqualified teacher. A school where Mommy Rambling's blog, Carolyn, her husband, who is a felon, for those of you who didn't know it, her husband, Jimmy, is a felon. He was actually in prison for 7 years for theft, drugs, burglary with a weapon. I will be talking about the school where he worked, where children were sexually, physically, and mentally abused. The school that he worked at for 12 years, where children were taken into a red barn by the person that he claims was his best friend at that school, who was a pedophile, registered sex offender, and who he is still friends with on Facebook. That I will be doing a deep dive on. Exactly, YouTube Crime Stopper. Her husband also escaped from prison, was on the run for 4 months. But have you ever heard her talk about that? No, actually, she said that it was just, the 60s and 70s. And that's the kind of thing that people did. Drugs, burglary is what kids did for fun. Okay.